Real quickly in WNBA, Connecticut, any 4.5 or 5 that's popped off, Connecticut has been bet as a home dog. That's why you're seeing mostly 4s on the Dallas side. But Connecticut is definitely a steam play in WNBA. Move over to regular NBA, the men's side. Indiana 2-1. That's Knicks were able to get that win, the pivotal win in Game 3. Indiana in this spot historically, these teams tend to go up 3-1 about 6 out of 10 times. That's why they're now a slight favorite. They were the dog, if you remember, in Game 3. So now you're paying a little bit of a premium in Game 4 because the last thing Indiana wants to do is give up home court advantage. This is a very, very, very important game for the Indiana Pacers, and the books are charging a slight premium. No surprise. That's who's getting the money so far. Been the recreational bettors that are betting it. That's where the risk is coming from. But we have seen a little bit of drop in the line. It opened at 2.5, got bet to 3 immediately. It looked like the Sharps were going to back Indiana, and that 3 may get juiced, but nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, opposite immediately at 3. Group came in, took the 3 on the Knicks, took the 2.5 on the Knicks. That's why you're looking at 2 right now. So it seems like a difference of opinion between the Sharps and the public. I haven't bet the side yet. None of the groups I work with are behind that move. But it just seems like that's how that line movement is being set up. Also, the under is one-sided from the sharp bettors. Public's kind of betting it 2 ways. No risk from the public, just as much over money as under money, just as many over tickets as under tickets. A little more on the over with the tickets because of the teasers and the parlays, but nothing really sticks out. Like I said, the sharp money did go under. That's why you've seen the total drop since that opened up. NHL real quickly, Dallas, Edmonton. Edmonton's up, but they don't really do good in this game. A team in Dallas's spot tends to win over 60% of the time. They're able to even the series to 2-2. Public doesn't care. They're betting Edmonton again blindly today. They won with them in Game 3. They're coming right back with them in Game 4 and also betting the game under. Did see plus 140 get taken out last night, so it seems like at plus 140, they will get some sharp money. So if they want to bump this line up, they should be able to limit some of that risk because it does look like the Sharps want to get a nice price to bet Dallas, or it seems like they're leaving it alone. Finally, in Major League Baseball, 961 Toronto down to about plus 125. 956 Arizona. They laid the chalk there, first 5 and full game. 957 Miami, plus 155 down to plus 145. And then Houston, game 904, Houston laid the chalk at minus 200. That's why they're about 230 right now. They also went over, but it's 7.5, delayed all the way up to minus 130, 135 to go over 7.5 instead at 8. And finally, Washington, Seattle, another flat total that they bet the 8 up to minus 125. Laid off the 8.5, which is pretty much what's painted right now across the board. So a little busier than yesterday as we get back to the daily grind with the big 3-day weekend now behind us.
These are up at the WagerTalk free plays page. If you guys want free plays, there's a lot of them up there. By the way, Ralph Michaels is secretly crushing his yes runs and no runs first inning. I think we're either 4-1 or 3-2. Lake Show Magazine, you've been tracking our plays on that. Ralph Michaels' no runs, yes runs first inning have been really, really good. So go ahead and check those out. I don't think he has one up today on the free page. Didn't see anything like, but we do have some other ones. Carmine likes the Stars and the Oilers over 1.5 goals in the first period. 3 games gone over in a row, 5-1 last 6 Oilers home games. So Stars, Oilers over 1.5 goals in the first period. Teddy covers. He likes the Orioles on the money line. He cashed on them yesterday. It's a big, long write-up. Go check it out at the free page. He's coming right back to it, so check on the Orioles. WNBA, this is a client play for us. Marina Mabry, under 2.5 made threes. She's gone under in 3 out of 4 games. She does shoot a lot, but she's shooting 25% from threes from the season. So that means she needs to get like 9 or 10 shots, and I don't see the volume there. So Marina Mabry under 2.5 on the 3-pointers. Teddy covers likes the Orioles. And Carmine likes the Stars and the Oilers over 1.5 in the first period. Pacers, Knicks, Neesmith is going to be a game time decision. Even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. We've got the spread. Pacers -2, -2.5, over under 220.5. How do you see this game going down?
I have a lot of different feelings about this game. You kind of mentioned the Knicks playing defense, right? And it almost happened like by accident because what I noticed, I went back and watched, a few of these games. The Knicks cannot defend when they have both Brunson and Towns on the floor together. The Pacers just pick on both of them. They decide which one they want to pick on, and their defensive rating with both of them on the court is 119.2. If you take off Towns and leave Brunson, it gets a little bit better at 111.5. But if you take off Brunson and leave Towns, it gets way better, 92.1. So I think what we saw in that game is the Knicks were able to come back with defense because they got lucky. Brunson was in foul trouble. Towns was in foul trouble. They had to play those other guys, and those guys were good defensively. So I think they can build on that. I also look at the Pacers. Every game so far in this series, the offensive rating dips every single game. And if you look at the second half, the offensive rating was 87.5 for the Pacers. So I think combination of Neesmith being hurt, I think that hurts the Pacers quite a bit. I think the Knicks playing more guys is helpful because the Pacers' big advantage is their depth. If the Knicks can now trust more guys and they can play defense, they have a great chance to win in this game. So I'm leaning towards the Knicks there. And one more thing I wanted to mention in this game is if I'm looking at the total or want to think about when I would expect points, we talked about the defense a little bit there. The time we know both Cat and Brunson will be on the court together is the beginning of the game, the first quarter, no matter what. They're going to start. So I was considering a first quarter over. The Pacers, throughout that, they started off, playing fast, but when they got the big lead, they stopped playing their game and slowed it down, and that's probably part of why they lost. So I think I've heard Halliburton mention about the pace. I've heard Miles Turner say they didn't play their game. They need to play faster. I think we see that right out the gate. Does it last for the entire game? I don't know. So what I'll leave the viewers with for this game, either first quarter over, I think the number I saw was 56.5, or I think the Knicks can win this game. Man, it's crazy. The league continues to grow. Even if it's not that big now, it's still bigger and getting bigger than it used to be from a guy who's been following for some years. This game, yes, you mentioned undefeated Lynx team, the Storm, 3-1. They opened the season. They looked terrible in that game versus the Mercury, but since I think they've been a lot more impressive. They've won 3 straight. A couple of the teams weren't, the most impressive victories as far as opponent, but they had a dominant 20-point victory over the Aces, and we know they have that championship pedigree. So facing another team just like that in the Lynx, I think they'll be up for it. And I think because the Lynx are undefeated, the Lynx just came from the finals, et cetera, you have to pay a little bit of a premium to back them. The Lynx were -7. I took them in the first game versus the Wings. The Wings are bottom of the barrel. They still haven't won a game. Now they're still -7 versus the Storm. Storm at 3-1. I just think it's a little bit too much. You look at Minnesota. They haven't won by this margin since that opener versus the Wings. And this game, they should be getting Kayla McBride back. If she doesn't play, it'll because she's not ready yet because of conditioning. She hasn't played a game. But we know in basketball, when you get that high usage player back into the lineup, it can throw off the rhythm that the whole team has. So, like I said, although she's an elite shooter, top tier talent, I'm just not sure that things are going to flow so smoothly in this first game. So, I think 6.5 currently. No, 7.5. I see 7.5. That's the same number that I got. I like the Storm in this one. And if I have to bet the total, we've seen 3 out of 4 of these meetings between these teams, last 4 meetings between these teams go under. Storm, a really good defensive team. They just exploded. Maybe we see them stay in the game with defense. They just shot over 50% from the field. And Minnesota Lynx are a really good defensive team too. So either under, which is against the market, or Storm. That's against the market too. Those are my recommendations.
Let's take a look at the side first. I don't know how you can't take Dallas here. Now, I understand Edmonton, with Connor McDavid and Draisaitl playing at the top of their game right now, this is an extremely hard team to keep pace with. But when you take a look at the game last time, although it was a 6-1 hockey game, Dallas outshot Edmonton 34-24. That's 34-24. They also only had 2 power plays in which they were 0-2. So a couple of things stand out to me there. One, they were able to take the game to Edmonton and just had some bad puck luck and some horrible bounces. And I watched that game, Andy. There were a lot of goalposts and crossbars. There was one empty net. Chaos ensued, and it did not go in. So Dallas had their chances and just really were a little bit snake bitten. So on one hand, I like to see that they outshot Edmonton. They took the game to Edmonton. They carried the play to Edmonton, and they lost. I also like to see that they went 0-2 on the power play and 0-2 on the power play before that. This is not a team that goes 0-for on the power play on a regular basis. They have not gone 0-for yet this season in back-to-back games, except those 2. So I expect 3 to 4 power plays from Dallas. I expect them to convert 1 or 2. And I also expect them to get a couple of better puck bounces, and some of those goalposts and crossbars go in instead of go out. So I think we're going to get 3 to 4 goals from Dallas tonight. And I think at plus 140, it's a good bet. Look, this Dallas team was better than Edmonton all season long from start to finish. And this Dallas team is totally stacked. And not only that, Andy, but this Dallas team has dealt with adversity. They were down in the Colorado series. Last year, they were down. They were almost out, and they rallied 0-2 at home, losing both games at home. So this Dallas team has faced adversity in the last 2 seasons. They're absolutely stacked. The numbers suggest that they're going to score, and I think they will. So I like Dallas plus 140. And frankly, guys, if you really want to go big, Dallas in regulation is an interesting bet as well. Now, I also like the over in this game, Andy. The bottom line is, if I'm thinking 3 goals minimum from Dallas, well, nobody is stopping this Edmonton Oilers team. This Edmonton Oilers team is averaging a hair under. Basically, they're averaging 4 goals a game. And to put that in perspective, they played the LA Kings, who had the second best defensive unit in all of hockey over the entire season. They also played the Vegas Golden Knights, who had the 3rd best defensive unit in all of hockey over the entire season. Now they're playing the Dallas Stars, which had the 5th best defensive unit in the entire season. So 2, 3, and 5, and they're still averaging 4 goals a game. Edmonton is going to get theirs. Dallas is going to light it up tonight. I like the over in this game. I like Dallas on the money line, and I like Dallas in regulation. That's about as detailed as I can get, my friend.
Yeah, so this is a late game. There's 2 games tonight on MLB Network at 9:40 Eastern. It's regional coverage. It's either Pirates, D-backs, or my Washington Nationals against Ronald Kabang's Seattle Mariners. And we're going to cover both of them here. I'm going to give you free plays on both of those games tonight on MLB Network. This first one, Pirates, D-backs, it's really not a question of who's going to win or who you should play, at least. Other than the Rockies, Pirates may be the 2nd worst team in baseball this year. Arizona currently about a minus 260 favorite, anywhere from minus 240 to 260 on the money line. So I do like Arizona here. I like Burns on the mound, definitely fading the Pirates. But the question becomes, what's the best way to play this? I'm not a fan of laying minus 250, minus 260. Long-term, baseball is an investment more so than any sport, and every cent you save adds up over the course of the season to units won. Definitely can look at the run line, get it down to minus 1.5, minus 120 or so. A lot of times we talk about the minus 1 run line, which is you can create on your own, by the way, by half a unit money line, half a unit run line, but that's still around minus 200. So this is one of those rare games. I think we can start digging a little bit deeper. You can get a minus 2 run line at even money, minus 2.5 run line at plus 125. So maybe a minus 2. We haven't talked a lot about minus 2 run lines, but it's Diamondbacks or pass for me in this game. I think they hold all the edges here. And I'll tell you what, if you continue to fade bad teams in Major League Baseball, you do all right. And the Pirates have not shown me any signs that they're turning things around. They've lost 3 of their last 5. After winning 4 out of 5 against Cincy and Milwaukee, they dropped back-to-back games the last 2, including the opener 5-0 against Arizona yesterday. And as is often the case with bad teams, Rockies, Pirates, other bad teams, when they lose, they usually lose by 2 runs or more. So I think either +1.5 or even that +2 or -2 rather is a good way to play the D-backs tonight. We're going to look at the total in this one. This is your other regional game at 9:40 Eastern on MLB Network tonight on Tuesday, and I do think there'll be some runs scored. Total opened around 8.5, depending on where you look, and there are still mostly 8.5s out there, but we can still get 8 over -120, -125. 8 is not a real key number. 9, 7, and 9 are the key numbers in baseball, because if it's 4-4, it's going to be 9 or more when it goes to extra innings. If it's 3-3, it's got to get to 7 or more. So 8, 8.5. Either way, you're still getting some value with the over. I like this game to get to 9 runs or more. Nationals started, I believe, like 1-6. My Washington Nationals, off to a slow start, but they've actually been an above 500 team since that first week of the season. I believe they're a little bit underrated still, and I look for them to get some runs tonight in this matchup. Starting pitchers right now, unless something changes later, it's going to be Parker against Evans. And Parker, very mediocre, 4.29 last year, 4.39 this year. He's a below-average pitcher. Logan Evans in his rookie season, 3.3 ERA, might have a little bit of an edge tonight on the pitching matchup for Seattle. But I think overall both offenses are going to hit the opposing starters well. I like the over here. Maybe if you want to be safe, you play the Mariner total over, just because Logan Evans might have a little more success since the Nationals lineup is unfamiliar with him as a rookie pitcher. But once again, I think both offenses hold the edge here. I like over the 8 to 8.5 in the Mariners-Nationals game at 9:40 Eastern.
Let's talk the Colts. Dan and I went head-to-head on the Eagles. I liked over. Dan liked under. So let us know, what do you guys think of the Indianapolis Colts? The season win total is set at 7.5. I know where I'm going with this one, and this might actually be a client play on my end. Dan, where are you going?
Well, maybe I can talk you out of that client play, because I think we might be seeing this a little bit different here, Andy. 7.5, man, that number, it piques curiosity. And you saw Steve's gut reaction there, right? Where it was, I don't know, over, right? Well, both years under Shane Steichen thus far, Andy, 8 or more wins. So let's start with that point. We talk all about Mike Tomlin. He's always 500. Obviously a much smaller sample size, what you're seeing in Shane Steichen, but I know this guy well from being an Eagles fan. I think he was a great tab as a head coach. Now it's just, does he have talent to work with? And that's the big question with this Indianapolis Colts team. I think they did a terrific job in the draft, but you have to start when you're handicapping season win totals with, what does the schedule say? What does the travel say? That's where you have to start. So I look at this schedule, Andy, and while it doesn't look particularly easy, it also doesn't scream like 4-13, right? It doesn't scream that this team is going to have a horrible year. So the way that I looked at it, I have them at least splitting with the division, right? So Tennessee, okay, Houston, Jacksonville. Fair. Houston may sweep them like they did last year. However, if they get swept there, maybe they finally win a game in Jacksonville and they sweep Jacksonville. I don't think they're going to be all that great. And then I think they can beat the Raiders. I think this also might be the year that Tomlin's luck kind of runs out a little bit. I think they could match up and at least hang with the Steelers. It's not like the Steelers are going to hang 30 points on them. So it's going to be 1st to 15 in that game. And then I think they can beat the Falcons. So right there is 6 wins, Andy. So 7 if they end up sweeping anybody in their division. That's what I'm assuming here. So then the question is, where do the other wins come from? Rams were bad to start the year last year. It wouldn't be that crazy if you see them stumble out of the gate again, kind of the McVay MO. They see them week 4. Dolphins in week 1. McDaniel's shtick is kind of starting to run a little bit thin there in Miami. Broncos, they're supposed to be a contender. Yes, but the Broncos are always a question mark for me heading into the year. And then you also get to play the Seahawks, another major question for me late in the year. So, Andy, last thing, and then I'll allow you to tell me why everything I say is wrong. But when you're taking overs on teams, typically, I think you're assuming everything has to go right for that team to hit that over. At 7.5, I think everything just has to not go wrong for this team. At 8.5, I'm with you. I'm probably starting to make a case for the under. At 7.5, the only way I could look is over. So I'm looking over the 7.5 wins for the Indianapolis Colts, Andy.
This is an easy under for me. We went 8-9 last year with a -50 point differential, Dan. -50. Listen, when our offensive line is healthy, we're really good. But we're never healthy. This isn't a real thing that happens. We drafted Tyler Warren. Awesome. We have Anthony Richardson, who completes 50.6% of his passes. We drafted Anthony Richardson coming out of college who didn't play many games and wasn't accurate. Guess what? Now he doesn't play many games. He's inaccurate and he gets hurt all the time. Daniel Jones is our backup. I can make the case that our backup is better than our starter. This is a recipe for disaster for the Colts this season. We get a couple of injuries and it's over. We have decent receivers. We just don't have a quarterback that can get them. Our secondary's awful. We can't guard anybody. And when you looked at our schedule, I think Miami won. Week 1, Miami, when Tua isn't hurt, I think we're in trouble. Week 2 versus Denver, I think that's a loss. Week 4 at Rams, I think they're better than us. And after week 11, we have to go at Chiefs, Texans, Jags, Seahawks, 49ers, Jags, Texans. We get Chiefs, two doses of CJ Stroud lighting us up. I think this is an under. So we're going to go head to head once again. This is great. So Dan is on the over. I'm on the under here on the Indianapolis Colts. So this is great.
Head to head again. I wasn't when Anthony Richardson taps out of the game. It will be Daniel Jones coming in on the goal line who can get you in there, right? It's not the ghost of Joe Flacco that's coming in. So I see comments coming in talk about the quarterback situation. People were in love with Anthony Richardson heading into last season. They were like, "Oh my God, the potential's there. He's coming off of the injury." I feel like, again, talking out of two sides of your mouth with the quarterback situation when you're just saying, "Oh, it's absolute dreck." I think there's worse situations you could have. So, yeah, I like it, Andy. Head-to-head here, back-to-back days. I like the under on the Eagles. You like the under on your team. I like the over on the Colts. You like the over on the Eagles.
We both.
The comments have to break these ties. Comment below, and what team do you want to hear us break down next? We're going to do every single team heading through the preseason here, leading up to the season. So, what team do you want to hear next? Indianapolis Colts. We got Eagles checked off the list. We'll talk another tomorrow. Comment below on which team you want to hear us break down.